Hey guys, it's Jeremy here of Metal Music Meltdown, back with another video. What I have for today, guys, is the next installment of my top 10 albums of each year. If you are new to the channel, welcome. And what I've been doing is my top picks from each year, starting back in 1970, and I've been working my way through chronologically to present date. I think when I first started the channel, my first year-end list was 2020, so we're almost there. We're at 2018 on this video. And pretty solid year for music. A couple albums didn't quite make the list. This year had a weird kind of year compared to other years. Most years there's like two or three albums that really stand out as the top, and then a couple that are more to the bottom, and then some solid stuff in the middle. But this year I found almost all the albums to be almost even, like right across. A couple at the bottom were not quite as good as the ones in the top 7 or 8. Most of the albums were pretty even. So it's difficult to kind of place them in a sequence, but I kind of based it on what I go back to the most or what I listen to with the highest frequency. And before I get into my list, a couple quick honorable mentions. Cruel Magic by Satan was another one that barely didn't make my list. The debut solo album from Dee Snider, For the Love of Metal. Really fun heavy metal album. That one didn't quite make the list. And Mediations by Cataclysm, another really good album. Didn't quite make my list. And so let's jump right in, guys. At number 10, I had Soulfly with Ritual. This is their 11th studio album, second to last. I think I have this one on CD. I still have to buy the new one, Totem. I haven't picked it up yet. But this is a killer album. Love everything Max does. And I always love Soulfly. Simpler riffs and very tribal and rhythmic. But I always love his music. It's got heavy riffs, crunchy riffs. Just everything you want from a heavy metal album. At number 9, I went with The Sciences from album from American stoner doom metal band. Love this band. They have a really cool sound. Very like trippy, stoner, sludgy, kind of really thick sounding music, but I love the newer album. A lot of people like Dope Smoker the best, but this album really holds up and it's a really solid album in their discography. At number 8, I went with Down Below by Tribulation. I think this was my introduction to the band. It's only their 4th studio album, but I really love this album, love the album artwork, and I really gravitated to this album right away. Really catchy riffs. It's like kind of like black and roll mixed with heavy metal, some psychedelic elements. I always pictured these guys being as more of a straightforward black metal band. I didn't realize they were more of a blend of like black and roll and some heavy metal elements in there, and I really love this album. It's really, really good. I still have to pick up a copy of it on CD, actually. I never did pick up a copy. At number 7, I went with Electric Messiah by High on Fire, one of my favorite bands. Same guy from Sleep, Matt Pike. Another great stoner sludge metal band. Love all their stuff. Their new album this year was fucking killer. I think it was number 4 or 5 or something on my top 10 of the year so far. And yeah, this is a killer album. All their stuff is great. They don't have a weak album. Kind of pained me to put it this low, but this is where the albums kind of started, where they're kind of even quality, and I just kind of had to put them somewhere. At number 6, I went with Firepower by Judas Priest. Really good modern album from Priest. I'm not even the biggest Priest fan, to be honest with you. I know that's kind of blasphemy, but I've always gravitated more towards like Saxon and Maiden. But Priest do have some killer albums, and Firepower definitely is a top echelon. This is a top 10 Priest album for me. It's really killer, really heavy production, right in your face, really good killer songs. Super heavy. Rob sounds amazing. Had to make my list. At number 5, I went with the band I just mentioned, Saxon, with Thunderbolt. Love Saxon. Such an underrated band from back in the day. I think they're right on par with Maiden and Priest, especially their last like 3 or 4 releases have just been epic and just like masterpieces in my opinion. Just some really good heavy metal, catchy riffs, great vocals by Biff Byford. This band is amazing and they should be bigger than they are, even though they are popular. But I always love Saxon. They're really good. Number 4, I went with Kalma and their album Palo. It's their 8th album, released in, again, 2018, as we're doing 2018. Love this album. Killer artwork, kind of doomy looking artwork, but I love this band. Another band that's criminally underrated for a melodic death metal band. They should have been a lot bigger. I try to introduce a lot of people to these through my videos. I always mention them in my list. And when I'm talking about certain, like, melodic death metal and whatever. Their album last year, their new album, self-titled, was my album of the year. Just a killer band, super epic. melodic death metal. Definitely check them out if you're not familiar with them. Number 3, I went with Vizaggoth and their album Conqueror's Oath. Really good new wave of old school heavy metal. One of the best in my opinion. They're a mix of like power metal, heavy metal, kind of fantasy laden, that kind of epic going to battle kind of music, but it's so classic heavy metal and just so epic sounding. Not too many bands nowadays do it as good as these guys. And they've only had 2 albums out so far, but both have been killer, and I'm dying for new material from them. And number 2, I went with my favorite newest doom metal band, Chem, with Desolation. Love this album. It's their 3rd studio album, and just a really good doom metal band. Love all their releases. The one before this, The Hunted, was my album of the year for 2016. But just everything these guys put out is killer. And yeah, I'm just really pumped for more material from them in the future. And at number 1, guys, I went with Morphus with their 13th studio album entitled Queen of Time. Really love Morphus. They're like progressive, melodic death metal. It's just a really cool sound, really unique sounding. They have some like folky elements mixed in there as well. Some really nice clean vocals, a lot of harsh vocals. Just a really, really good band. Most of their albums are really stellar. And yeah, I had to make my number 1. It's kind of the album I go back to, I think, the most out of all these. So that's why I put it at number 1. So let me know down below, guys, what your picks would be for 2018. Have you heard most of my picks? Is there any bands you're not familiar with? And definitely list your picks down below. I'm always interested in picking up new music and checking out bands maybe I'm not familiar with, etc. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for 2019, probably the next week or 2. And until next time, keep it metal.